turn. There we go. Boom. Let me get on camera, hopefully. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hey. So, good afternoon, parents. We are here with Mr. Richard Wright. He is a mayor candidate, and I want you guys to get to meet him. I heard some great things about him. You know, I just heard that. I ain't heard nothing else bad. You guys can make your own decisions. Become, November. I'm going to and give it to you, Mr. Wright. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Richard Wright, and I am running for mayor of Atlanta. I'm running to be your mayor to give the people the voice back, their voices back. I'll give you a little bit of story about myself. I moved to Atlanta in 1997 from North Carolina with a GED. And I moved here to be a rapper. And so nobody signed me. So I figured that I've been listening to my mom and enrolled in school, but there was some pushback because I have a GED. So I said, Mom, I didn't do good in high school. How am I going to do good in college? And she said, Richard, you got to go. So I just enrolled in hers in college one day, and through hard work, some divine intervention, I got a 4-year degree. Then I had the nerve to go to grad school, the Strayer, to get my MBA. Then I had some more nerve to figure that I can be, part of the 1% of 3% of the 1% who has a CPA license. So I took and passed the CPA exam. Then I had the expensive endeavor of going to Georgetown Law School. So I kind of went from a GED to Georgetown Law. So there's a will, there's a way, and I plan on this really using what I've learned over the last 24 years in Atlanta to make the city better. And I'm an example to all kids that, no matter where you start at, it doesn't define how you're going to finish, how you're going to end. And I think I think we need to really, more of my stories like myself need to be told so that kids can see that, there's hope. So I guess that's the kind of my background. When it comes to APS, as a mayor, I don't have a lot of control over APS. I can, get people behind closed doors and get my feelings. But what I can do is use city resources for after school programs and for after school learning. The idea I had is that in order for people to use their imagination, they have to imagine something, right? And so we have, give a perfect example, Katherine B. Johnson. You know who she is, right? As a historical African-American woman who is a main reason behind man being on the moon, right? And so as mayor, what I plan on doing is doing a public-private partnership with NASA, with Delta, and with other institutions, not-for-profit and profit and for-profit as well, to construct the Katherine B. Johnson Space Lab, Space Institute. And that is something that can happen, right? NASA, Jeff Bezos is trying his hardest to fly around the entire globe, the entire universe. So I'm quite sure Blue Origin, they'll be interested in really making a donation and also funding the program. Because I'm quite sure Jeff Bezos knows about Katherine Johnson, right? And there's a Katherine B. Johnson somewhere in Atlanta. It's some young lady around here, some young African-American around here that's going to be instrumental in man moving forward into outer space. Promise you it is, right? You have to really give that young mind an opportunity to be a great young mind. And so that institute is one of the 10 institutes that I plan on bringing to Atlanta. And there's others. Let me say Joseph L. Sirleaf III. I want you guys to write this down. Google him. Joseph L. Sirleaf, Sealess the third, and he was the first African American investment banker on the New York Stock Exchange. Right, we don't even know who he is. Right, and so what I want to do is have the Joseph L. Sealess III Investment Banking Institute, and so we can get public-private partnerships with NASDAQ and with the New York Stock Exchange to fund the program, and to bring stockbrokers here to teach our kids about being a stockbroker, about the stock market, just to expose them to different areas, different professions. And that's 2 of the 10 I plan on bringing to Atlanta.
First of all, I'm Googling this while you speak.
Joseph L. Sealess.
You said Robert L. Johnson?
No. Catherine B. Johnson.
Okay, Catherine
B. Okay. Johnson, yeah. Hidden Figures, the movie Hidden Figures was about her. Yeah, she really exists.
What was the gentleman name you said?
His name is Joseph L. Sealess III.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a pioneer in investment banking, and so we don't even hear about him. We don't even know him. All right, and so there's about 10 institutes that I want to bring, and they're going to be minority focused, right? And so because we need to give our kids, Black and brown kids, the ability to be able to imagine and to know about people who are groundbreakers in certain industries, certain fields.
Wow, that is, I'm so glad to hear you say that you are the first person. This is something that I was thinking about, and something that me and another parent, we've been trying to learn about the stock market and all those great things, so that families can have another way to learn how to earn, money. And so I'm so happy to hear. Now I see why everybody was talking so great about you, because that's something that a lot of us don't talk a lot about, but it's very important. And it is a lot of African American people right now really moving some numbers over in the stock market. So I really appreciate that. Also, you're absolutely right. Parents, we already know that school and city is kind of separate. But given what we've seen in the past, we would love to see the mayor have a better relationship with, the school board. Now, we know everybody is up for re-election right now, and we could have new people all across the board. And so we hope that the mayor will have a great relationship with our school board, because I say this all the time. Back in February or March, when the new superintendent got here, she showed us data. And one of the pieces of the data showed that in every cluster, from the north to the south, east, and west, African-American children was behind in reading and in math.
Yeah.
Our Hispanic brothers and sisters were ahead of us.
Yeah.
It was very disheartening. As a mom, I have like I said, I have some that have special needs. So I'm very big on advocating for them. But it was really tough to hear that. And so we know the school do focus on a whole child approach, but our kids still get left behind. So let me ask you this question. Just to start, infrastructure. Our infrastructure here is like crumbling right before our eyes. I have a Respect Cascade initiative that I kicked off a few years back when the young gentleman, Mr. Gordon, was killed right maybe 2 lights from my children's school. And so we've been advocating to make sure that the sidewalks and the streets are better in Southwest and Southeast Atlanta. What is your take? What will you bring or change when it comes to the infrastructure here in Atlanta?
Well, see, what I would do, what I plan on doing as mayor, is creating an office of infrastructure. There needs to be a dedicated office to infrastructure within the city of Atlanta. Number one, there's going to be federal funding that's coming from the infrastructure bill is going to pass Congress, right? I don't know about the human piece of it, that's debatable. Joe Manchin is Joe Manchin, cinema is cinema. But the infrastructure piece is popular among everybody because every senator wants to go home and every House member and President Biden want to go around the country saying that I gave you jobs and I gave you infrastructure, right? And so by creating a office of infrastructure, we're going to have people who are sophisticated, knowledgeable about infrastructure. That's going to give confidence to the Biden administration, because when the funds are released, Brian Kemp is going to have some say so where it goes, right? Because he's the governor, right? And so historically, Atlanta has misspent money. That's the honesty of it, right? We look at our roads now. We look at the 2015 bond that was issued, more funds were collected, and they did an audit, and we spent over 75% of the money in half the time. So how does that happen? Right? It's a lot of pay for play, and there's a lot of mismanagement that goes on. Well, as a CPA, I know how to read budgets. I know how to do job costs. I know how to look at projects and really get a good sense of where you are, where you're supposed to be. And I'm going to bring in people who are smarter than me at doing that. And so the Office of Infrastructure will be dedicated to infrastructure, number one. Number two, I also plan on giving a lot more power to the NPUs, because I think that, to be honest, power has just been usurped up to the executive branch, the mayor, and we kind of lord over the city. Like this is Rome and I'm Caesar, but Atlanta's not Rome and I'm not Caesar. I'm the mayor, all right? And so the people in the districts know more about your district than City Hall. You live in the district, right? And so we need to have a much better relationship created between the executive branch, the NPUs. And so that's the second piece of it, is putting in more power in the hands of the citizens, the NPU that are within the different districts. And so that's my pledge to the people of Atlanta, is to give the people more say so in a lot more areas.
Now, Miss Shannon, would you like to come off mute and ask a question and introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shannon White. I currently have a student over in Booker T. Washington High School. I'm also part of the Atlanta Council of PTAs, as well as the Go Team for my child's school, as well as the cluster representative. The question that I have for Mr. Wright is, I hear you talking about how you would change, you would have an infrastructure office. I want to know, would you be willing to have an office that was dedicated to the parents of the city, so we can express our concerns about child care, after school care programs, which we had when we were growing up, like the Boys and Girls Clubs, the YMCAs, how we can incorporate those type of programs into this conversation, because what the kids are the future, and if we're not doing anything for them to aspire to do anything in the future, then we as a city are lost. So I would like to know, what would you think about having a parent advisory board?
Parent advisory board, great idea. I think one of my areas that I definitely, like I said, want to work on is the mayor's relationship with the citizens of Atlanta. And so in doing that, I plan on having we're going to create a smart city here in Atlanta. And one of the things that I want to create is a program called Your Block, Your Vote. and that is on the Atlanta City's website. There's going to be a drop box where you can go there and express an area of concern, and then we're going to analyze it and speak with the NPUs about it. Because I think one of the things I want to stress to people is I ask people, who's your city council person? That's one of the first questions I ask when a person is upset with what's going on. Who's your council member? All right. Who's your NPU chair? Right. Because that's the first line of defense that you're supposed to go to. Right. And so the mayor's up here, and granted, the mayor is someone who's responsible for you, but the NPUs are where you go to get things done. So that's a great idea for the NPUs to say, and the city and your city council member to say, listen, let's create a parent advisory board. And of course, I'm going to hear about it. Obviously, you told me about it, and I'm going to get involved myself. But at the district level, that you definitely want to get that going at the district level. That's the place where it really supposed to really start. And then once it starts, it can manifest out because we can do an evaluation of how the program is doing. You know, is your NPU chair listening? Is your city council person listening?
Okay, so that's my point. Because when I first started working with the PTA at Booker T. Washington High School, it was brought to us that the NPUs would be working with the school in order to come up with ideas on how to improve the school and the community in which it surrounds. Now, when it comes to the NPUs and to the representatives, when you reach out to them, most of them turn a deaf ear. Most of them come to complain about what's not happening instead of coming up with proactive measures to ensure that these things will not happen in our community. We're getting complaint. They were complaining about how we were not doing things as efficiently as they should have been, but with no support. I hear you saying the NPUs, and I hear you saying who's in our district, who runs our district. But if the resources are there and they know that the resources are there and they're not giving it to the neighborhood, they're not giving it, spreading it throughout the community, then what are we as parents are to do?
I think the most important thing, and this may sound cliche, but politicians listen to two things: money and votes. What is the percentage of individuals who are voted in your district? Prominent question, right? Because when people vote and then when they donate money, politicians listen. They don't understand anything else. They understand those two things. And at the end of the day, the dollar is very, very important, but that vote is what keeps you in office or get you out of office, all right? So the people who are turning a deaf ear to you, that goes from the NPU chairs to the city council member, to the post member, to the mayor, him or herself, need to be held accountable. And the way you hold them accountable is through your voting and through who you donate to. That's running. There's when it comes to education, each district is nuanced, and that's because they're different ideologies and they're different cultures. All right, we have to really address the fact that our kids are performing the way that they need to be performing for the 21st century. That's the honesty of it, right? And so how do we address that? Is it the parents' issues? Is it school board issues? Is it city council issues? Or do all stakeholders need to look in the mirror and say, how can I specifically perform better myself? That goes for parents, that goes for the kids themselves, that goes to the teachers, that goes to the principals, that goes to the school board, that goes to the city council person, that goes to the NPU, that goes to the mayor, him or herself. So all stakeholders must take accountability for what we're doing. And so there's funds that need to be allocated towards more after school programs, recs, Were you saying something? Okay, yeah, through parks and recs, through after school programs. And so what I would do as a parent, I would get other parents together, come up with a paradigm. Okay, this is what we want. And this is the funds that we think is going to take to do this, whether it's, Richard, Mayor Wright's program where he's going to take 1,000 kids and really send them to the Institute, the Katherine B. Johnson Institute, another 1,000 to the Joseph L. Sirleaf Institute. We can have public-private partnerships with the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball for athletics, to construct 10 baseball parks. We can get with Parks and Recs to get that done. It's money that's flowing around. And I think that we do get frustrated when we talk to people who are in charge, the MPU chairs and even the city council, and you just get put on the back burner or your ideas don't get heard. And so galvanizing together, right, that just takes just going, knocking on doors and saying, listen, hey, we want better for our kids, right? It got to start with the parents. We as parents got to want better for our kids, right? And then galvanize together, and you become such a large entity where you can affect elections, especially in the district. You're gonna get better results. You're gonna get your council person listening to you. You're not gonna get sent somewhere, but right? Because in Buckhead, I promise you, every council member in Buckhead listens to their constituents, because those people vote. And you will not be the Buckhead City Council representative if you are failing, because they're not gonna have it. As African Americans, we can't have it. We've allowed people to sit in these positions for far too long, and they've been failing you. That comes from the mayor on down. That's the honesty of it.
Right. Yep, I absolutely agree. He's right on the point. Laquita, I know you at work. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. You were listening. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
He's right on point with that. Because I served on the MPU. When I came in, I was like, wow, like people don't know that they make a lot of decisions. When you say gentrification, do you know that the developers have to go to the MPU to get their yes or no, which sometimes funds are attached to that in order to get this development that gentrifies a lot of us. So I talk about that a little in our parent group, but that is something that I've been saying, y'all come to these meetings. They're all virtual. I actually go to all 25 MPU meetings every month. That's just the advocate. that's just me. And I did some recently. I watched everybody meeting, and I noticed that the city, let's say the city zone person, will go to every meeting with the same information, but it would be presented in different ways at different MPUs. I went to Leah LaRue, who is over the MPU system, and I said, Leah, hey, how you doing? Why do, when they come to our Black MPUs, they are guessing this information versus what they did in MPU A through D? They pulled up a presentation. They went through each slide. They laid it out in a way that everybody in the community understood. They asked questions, but I noticed, because I go to all of them, they did something different. Now, a lot of people wouldn't know this because I rarely see, even to my council members, I haven't seen a council member that go to every MPU meeting. Yeah, I haven't.
Exactly. That Westmoreland, he's going to be at the MPU meeting.
He's going to be at his. Let's
he's going to be at his, right? Because he's over what I think he's over 5 through 8, I believe. So he's going to be at
he might be in. Let me be honest. He haven't been in all of them. He haven't been coming. I'll say before we started talking about voting, he was not going to these meetings. A lot of them were not going.
Exactly. And so that is a issue more so in the African American community, because we never hold our leaders responsible.
Never. He is absolutely right.
That's why you get the results that you get, and our white constituency ain't gonna have it. They not gonna have it, right? And so we need to not have it. You got council members that have been up there for 20 years. right? If they've done nothing.
Exactly.
Right? They're going to take you for granted because you don't vote. If you vote, I promise you, the new one's going to know this election is about turnout. That goes from the mayor, that goes for the city council president on down to District 12. It is about turnout. If African Americans in particular turn out, and they turn out in a way that lets people know that we are serious about governing, about our schools, about crime, right? There was an article in the AJC. I don't know if you guys read it. Atlanta workforce, and this is tragic. This as someone who didn't have an education, who knows what education do for you, right? Atlanta workforce got a federal grant, $4 million, right, to train 450 low-income African-American individuals in tech, right? They were supposed to train them, get them jobs. The feds come in 2.5 years into it, and woe and behold, what do they find? They find that out of 450 people, 9 had been trained. Well, where's the money going? Where's the money going? The money's going to salaries for the staff, expensive trips for the staff. Those are Black people taking advantage of Black people. We don't want to say anything about that. We'll march about anything else in the world. We'll march when a policeman kicks a woman. We will march, huff, puff, and shout, but we won't say anything about that. That's 450 people's lives have been changed. If you got a spouse, that's 910 lives that would have changed. You got kids, that's damn near 2,000 people that would have been lifted out of poverty. Microsoft is coming. You don't think any of those people could have got a job at Microsoft? The mayor is supposed to go to Microsoft and say, listen, this part of you coming here is hire some of them, right? That's what the mayor is supposed to do. And we as a people, we're not getting any results as long as we keep electing the same people, and as long as we keep allowing them to disrespect us by not working, right? You will keep getting the same results. And so that's what this election is about. That's what the election is about. When legacy people are running, when an old mayor is running, he's pretty much telling you, right, that I don't believe that African Americans who need the help the most, right, are going to vote. They're going to sit back and let me get in, and I'm going to continue to do what I do. And you're going to continue to have the great income disparity in Atlanta that you do.
Listen, you are, oh my God,
Absolutely.
that is exactly what I have been seeing in the community as I started advocating more and harder. I have a few parents like the ones you see, and it's a few more, but that's exactly what we've seen. We've seen our own people, before we could talk about anybody else, our own people kind of just overlook us. We're constantly struggling, trying to survive. I followed that workforce, that whole thing, because they talked about it on city council. They end up having to give probably about $1 million back
to the feds. Yep, they had to give money back to the feds.
They had back because it didn't serve the needs. Now, thank you for giving us those numbers. I didn't know that it was about 400 people, and to hear only 9. To your point, we got Echo Street Lab. I'm born and raised West Side. We got the Echo Street Lab. We got Microsoft. They're coming. 400 people they could possibly be going into a very promising situation right now.
Look at the job. Let's be honest, right? Because what the mayor was going to do backdoor is go to Microsoft and say, listen, I need you to hire at least 100 of them. I'm gonna need you to hire these 100 of these students. I need this. Hey, and Microsoft wouldn't have had no problem because they would have been trained well, right? We could have get Microsoft to get involved with the training. So when Microsoft comes here, so when these companies come here, low-income African Americans who society has brushed aside, right, can end up beating the odds, getting a high-paying job. It'll really be a job. Because the way I explain employment in 2 ways, pay is different than the actual position. It's good, better, best, right? We have a job, right? We all had a job. Hell, I quit every job I ever had. Then there's a career. That's the next step. And then there's equity, ownership, right? Good, better, best, right? We need to be concentrated on better and best because we all done had jobs. And we quit every job we've ever had. because a job is temporary, a career is more permanent, and of course, equity, ownership of your own business is the most permanent structure. All right, so that's what we need to be concentrating on. There's enough Black talent around here to get it done. There's enough wherewithal. There's enough dollars floating around here to get it done. We just don't let the right people. And that's the honesty of it.
That is the God-forsaken truth. We are not elected. And then once we elect them, we don't even hold them accountable. And we let them show up at our meetings, you know, possibly right around time to be elected. You know, everybody start coming to the meeting. It's like, oh my God.
I'm gonna give you your money back.
But where you been, you know, the last 3 years? Where you been at right too?
That's how it happens is, you know, politics, people, elected officials, it's like watching the same channel for 4 years. Like you can't change it. You want to change it? I can't. I change the channel. I got stuck with this channel for 4 years. And so they know that. And so what they do is they give you bad, average shows. And then 3.5 years into it, they get the bright idea to have all the good shows come on because they want to renew the contract again. That's Atlanta politicians in a nutshell. All right. Is you stuck with them for 4 years, 3.5 years into that 4-year term. They start telling you all type of fantastic shows that are coming on next time once you renew the contract. And you renew the contract, and then guess what? You get the average and below average shows back on again. And so just to really Ms. White, to answer your question, that's the honesty of it, is that parents have to get together, because I know it's our kids that are suffering, right? We are tested below kids who English isn't their native language. That should be unacceptable. As a parent, we should not accept that Hispanic and Latino kids testing above us in English. That doesn't make sense. It's just it shouldn't be accepted. But the cycle, if we went back to 2010, and we did 2000, the year 2000, 2010, 2020. Let's pull the test scores for kids at Doug, at Westlake. What would they be at 2020? What had they been in the year 2000? What they were in 2010? And what were they last year? Right? If there had been any material improvement, that's a generation. Those kids who were in school in 2020 got kids in high school now. That's a whole generation of failure. How do we accept that? Other cultures don't.
You know what's so sad? The sad part is when we hear them say, well, for me, oh, we know we've been failing the students. Okay, we know. I'm glad you're admitting that. Now it's time to go. I want to ask you a question that piles on to this conversation. They recently voted on the new training facility.
Yep.
I was a part. Let me just put that out there. 17 hours worth of public comment, which 60% was against the training facility being placed in my neighborhood, to be exact. Mm-hmm. And so what is your feel? I know a lot of parents talked about how they was concerned about the kids going to jail. They was concerned about people being killed by the police. What would you do different for this particular area?
So for the new training facility, the public safety training facility, I think that as leaders, they dropped the ball on the transparency aspect of it. All right. Why are we all of a sudden holding 1,700 hours of public? No, you're supposed to do this last year. No, you're supposed to do this. This is supposed to be 60. See what happens again is that Black folks don't demand anything. We wait till the end to demand something. You're supposed to demand when you first got wind of this, right? Your city council person was supposed to hold a town hall meeting with you and say, listen, they were supposed to bring people from the police foundation in, explain to us, right? What is the cost of it? How does it affect the community? Where is it going? Well, is that land being used already? Can that land be used for anything else? Where else can we train them at, right? All of this discussion could have been had. You hold 6 town hall meetings, you explain it to everyone, right? And then you let the people respond, right? Because an informed person can't argue about transparency. they could just argue about the fact that I just don't want the police to get trained, period. That's a different conversation, right? So they allow individuals who pretty much are activists to hijack the conversation. It was easy to hijack, right? Because you haphazardly rolled it out to me, right? So I can call it cop city. You know, I can call it whatever that I want to call it. And so what should have happened is that the mayor, city council should have been a lot more, the police foundation should have been a lot more transparent. Now about the facility. Yes, we need the facility. We do need the facility. Police have to be trained somewhere, all right? That's the honesty. We aren't going to train them as the public. We're going to argue about how they're treating us, where are they going to learn how to treat us better at? They're going to have to be trained. They're going to have to be someplace, right? They put it out of Atlanta, right? Because it wasn't going on the north side of the city. Let's be frank about that. It wasn't going there, all right? So you got it in an area where that is already being used. I do agree that it's a lot of area that they're maintaining that they want. So that's why they broke it down to 85. 85 is still probably a little bit too big, right? If you're 3 times the size of New York City, who has 40,000 officers. But the way that you express that to the parents is that, listen, this is a public safety facility. That means the firefighters, that means 911, that means everybody. But see, when you explain to people in town hall meetings, they get the premise. But when you just put it on people, it seems like that's a top-down ideology, right? Instead of from the bottom up. And so, as a leader, I have to lead, right? So I'm going to make the decision. As the mayor, as a leader, I'm going to make the decision, right? But the people need to be informed. And so when you inform people, the situation goes a lot better. And just back to the point about the facility, I think that us as African Americans, we kind of pick and choose our issues, right? We really do pick and choose our issues. We talk about, well, $1 million could be spent in the African American environment in programs. Well, APS just dropped the $4 million. The Atlanta workforce has just pretty much gave up on $4 million for the African American environment. Where's the march for that? I'll wait for all the activists who are screaming about Cop City, all right? $4 million, that's 2,000 individual lives could have been changed. So we pick and choose our emotional issues based upon our leadership, right? We need to be addressing our leadership. And I'm glad that everybody on the call is concerned about the kids and the kids' educational futures, because without an education as an African American, 99% of the time you don't go far. Yeah, you may you may have a hit record. You may turn into a little baby. You may, right? But it's 49 million African Americans, one little baby. It may be 150 rappers who are making money out of 49 million people. So we need to understand that education is the future for African Americans. And it's the way that our forefathers marched, bled, died for us to learn. And we need to be cognizant of that. And if you don't do it for yourself, at least do it for them. And so that's my feel about how the Atlanta Public Safety Facility. I agree with people who say, hey, the transparency was terrible, right?
It was.
Why don't we just have, why don't we have the Atlanta Police Foundation should have rolled out some numbers, right? They say, hey, you know what? No cop is going to come here for a facility that's going to be made in 2 years. What did we ask the cops who are applying? Let's ask them, because we know what they're going to say. I don't know why the police foundation didn't do that, because when somebody approached me with that, I think I had a council person who's running for council approach me with that question. Like, it's insane to think that the police don't want to be trained in the facility. They don't want to be someplace where it's molding.
Yeah, I saw it. It was very, and the other sad part is that was an APS building.
Exactly.
And you saw the pictures, it was terrible. So I can say for myself, I do agree that they need a training facility. For as transparency, it's all up in smokes, because me and Sarah, I'm glad to see she on. I know she's at work as well. We serve on a public safety committee for APAB.
Yeah.
And so that's the bigger part of the MPU system.
Yeah.
And they came to us, I want to say maybe 2.5 months ago. That's how I even learned about it. I didn't know that this been a plan for years.
Exactly.
Have been a plan. And so when they presented, I was like, wait, this is in my neighborhood, to be exact, not too far from me. And one question that I posed, which we talked about earlier, I told I think that was Karen Rogers. She works with the Police Foundation. I said, what happens when this new facility comes and my property taxes go up?
Mm-hmm.
Said, that part we didn't think about.
Mm-hmm.
And I still ask that question, what happened? Is there going to be some type of community benefit agreement that makes sure that the legacy residents and homeowners doesn't suffer because this new facility is being built near or around their homes?
It's a lot that, and I hate to keep saying the same old, but we'd be remiss to think that city council didn't know about this. So you have a council person who knew about this in the inception of this, right? So instead of screaming at the police, we need to be screaming at your city council members. Like, well, hey, you knew about this 2 years ago. You knew this was coming down. Why did you make us aware of it? All right. If you get public input, they would have thought, well, damn, we putting the facility over here that's worth $90 million. What do we think is going to happen to the property value? Right? And we can think about this, and we can think about this in advance. Okay, well, Mayor Bottoms, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to freeze property taxes for legacy residents at this price? What are you going to do? All right. Or and also the council person, what are you going to do? All right.
Exactly.
Right. So those things could have been flushed out, ideas could have been brought to the table, but it's kind of like everything was done in vague and it got rammed down people's throats. And so what happens is that both sides, the radicals in both sides, is just go wild with it. Right. Do I think it's Cop City? No. I do not think it's Cop City, because they're going to be firefighters out there who are going to be learning. They're going to be first responders that are out here, because when your house catch on fire, you're going to want that person to be trained to get you out. The training doesn't happen by osmosis, right? We want cops to learn better techniques on how to deal with people who are mentally ill. All right. We want to have more connection to those social workers with the police. Guess what? Everybody needs to be trained at. All right. Everybody, we admit everybody needs to be trained. All right. And so the idea of, police, there's no institution that's above reproach, all right, on earth, because we're all imperfect individuals. Jesus Christ was the only person that walked the face of the earth that was perfect. So we're all flawed. All 330 million Americans are flawed, right? So there's no system that is perfect, right? But what we do with recognizing that, we need to take more of a holistic look at public safety, and we need to be more honest in our communities about what's going on in the community, right? We jump up and down about a policeman, but if we pull the numbers of the 109 individuals who were murdered, how many of them were Black? How many victims were Black? How many perpetrators were Black? That's a real statistic that we really need to look at, right? And so how many robberies happened in districts 9 through 12? How many of them were a victim who was Black, the perpetrator was Black? How many rapes in our community? How many of the victims were Black? How many of the perpetrators were Black, right? So once we pull these statistical numbers, we know the answers to them, but it's a harder lift, right? It's a harder lift to tackle these issues, right? And so the easier and the more and the emotional thing is to go straight to the police when anything happens, right? First, we need to look at ourselves. We look at the historical presence of that. It wasn't any white person who sat down on the bus. It was a Black person that sat down on the bus, right? It wasn't a white person who got shot. Medgar Evers was Black, right? He got shot for Black rights. Black folks start standing up for their rights, and then everybody else jumped on the bandwagon. So that's what we need to do as a people currently today, is that we need to look at our communities and say, hey, how can we clean up our communities? What can we do? What about community policing, right? I talk to young brothers all the time about joining APD.
Yep.
How can you have community policing without the community? You can't have it. It doesn't happen, right? God bless everybody moving here from Seattle and San Francisco and New York to be cops. But there needs to be African American men who grew up in Zone 9, who went to Doug, who went to Westlake, who care about the community to say, you know what, I want to participate in fixing it and making it a better place. And when that happens, you'd be surprised what other organizations jump their behinds on board with it. Because that's what all they're waiting on. They're waiting for us to care first. With our crime in our environment, they're waiting for us to care about our schools. We see the results of the scores in our schools. We see it. And so they see it. So we need to care first. So once we can, then they jump on the bandwagon. That's how anything goes. When we care, when we put our best foot forward first, other races jump on the bandwagon.
Let me ask you this question, and I'm gonna let Miss Cher jump in. I'm not sure if she can unmute or not. The housing crisis here have just been unbelievable. Me and Sherry have helped several families get connected to Atlanta Housing. They have housing vouchers, and some still have them, some let them expire, but they having a hard time finding somewhere to accept them. And we have so many families, and I know you may know this, that is homeless. My family has been homeless before, living in hotels out on Full Industrial and, elsewhere. But we have a lot of families, mom, kids, dads that are really having a hard time with housing. As I drive throughout the city, I see abandoned apartments around in little areas, and I see all of this luxury, everything, luxury. And I don't even understand, how did we go that far where we forgot about the regular people that have been here 10, 20, 30 years, And so how do you feel, or what can we do different, or how can we support you and some type of initiative that help families and children stay in their communities and in their homes?
Yeah, great question. There are a lot of stakeholders in affordable housing, but let's just back up and really look at it. Atlanta, and not a lot of people know this, Atlanta has the second highest concentration of African Americans with a 4-year degree or higher in America. We are the 37th largest city. We have an incredible amount of Black talent here, right? And so what happens when that Black talent comes here, it moves here educated. It moves here making money. And so what we forgot is the legacy residents. Because think about it, right? If we go back to 2000, right, and we pull the test scores of somebody, of the students at Doug High, and you see the 12th graders with a 9th grade reading level, right? What skill set do they have to go out into society, right? But then you have African Americans who coming from all over the country, either educated or to go to Georgia State, Kennesaw, the whole AUC, so that they come here and get educated, right? So you have to clash, right? You have a large amount of African Americans who can afford luxury townhouses, luxury apartments, right? So builders know that. I'm not the only person who sees that. So they know that. So they start building for them, right? You come here, you're 22 to 26 years old, you're not married, you don't have a family, so you play around in Buckhead and Midtown until you get married, get a family, then you move your behind out to Douglasville. You go, because you're not paying $3,000 a month for an apartment anymore, right? When you get 28, 29 years old, you got 2 kids, you got a family. I'm getting out, sorry to say this, but I'm getting my kids out of APS schools. That's the honesty of it, because I've had people tell me that. I'm getting my kids out of APS schools, right? And I'm going someplace where I got a yard for $3,000. I got a 5-bedroom house, right? And so, but the cycle continues. So again, that individual, more than likely, who graduated from Doug with a 9th grade reading level, isn't making the money of someone who comes from out of state with a 4-year degree from the University of Michigan and an MBA from UF, right? And so that's what we don't want to talk about as a people. All right. We like to get on the emotional issues, right? Affordable housing, I can't afford a house. Why doing this? Gentrification, yes. Also, the developers came to our Black communities and said, well, grandma and granddad worked hard for that property. You know what type of stuff they had to go through to buy a house in the 60s and 70s, right? They had to bust their behinds, right? And now the kids have let it go. That's the honesty of it, right? We don't want to be honest as a people like these emotional issues. The kids let it go, right? So then a developer comes through and say, you know what? That's some good land right there. I'm gonna go offer you $50,000 for this property. The kids never seen $50,000 cash in their life, right? So they take it. So what did the developer do? He buys it. Then what did he do? He constructed a $400,000, $500,000 townhouse. So guess what? All the other 9 houses on the block just did. Their value just quadrupled. So that $1,000 property tax bill you got is now $3,500, right? We see it, we know it, right? Again, where was the NPU heads when this was going on? Where were city council members? Were they going? Like they know it. They know it before you know it. Because again, the developer has to go through them, or or if the developer circumvents the NPUs, go to City Hall, you know they did. Right? We act like this is just some white man's invention. No, these are NPUs who know about this. That's the honesty of it, right? And so they know about this before it happens, right? So if you see your neighborhood being gentrified, best believe that the NPUs and the city council person know about this clear year before it happened, 2 years before it happened. They did not come to you. They did not come to say the community. They said, well, they don't want nothing. They don't really keep it up anyway. Well, he ain't got no job. He just got out of jail. He's got out of prison. You know what I'm saying? And Miss Ruth gone now. So, what am I supposed to do? I can't. So I can't save him, right? You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what happens. So when you get down and take the emotions out of it and just look at the rational aspects of affordable housing, you would say, okay, this is what happened. So how do you fight back, so to speak? How do we keep legacy residents in houses? There's ideas that we can use. We can freeze property taxes. We can come to the developers and say, hey, if you build a 500 unit high density complex, how about give the legacy residents some ownership in that? Do you ever think about that? Hey, give them cash to $50,000-$100,000 up front. Give them 2 or 3% ownership, so grandma can get a check every month from the Richard Wrights. Well, I can't hear the GED, so just the smart Richard Wrights of the world who want to pay $2,500 for the apartment, right? So grandma could get a K1, could get monthly checks because she's an owner of the property. We never really look at any idea. We just argue, complain, and moan and groan about like it's gonna stop. Like moaning and groaning about it and asking somebody running for office to give you an answer. They're just gonna talk at 5,000 level of words and then they let it happen, right? Because it's been happening for the last, 15, 20 years now. Gentrification is nothing new, right? This is something that's been happening, right? So the NPUs have been knowing, the mayor's been knowing, the city council people have been knowing, right? And so we need to really just take ownership of what's happening with it, and then say, listen, I'm going to vote for someone who has the idea that's going to benefit me. I'm going to get selfish in this vote. If I'm an African American who I see gentrification happen in my neighborhood, I'm going to get selfish with this vote. I'm coming out to vote. 92,000 people, 96,000 people voted in 2017. That number should be 130, 140. This city has 500,000 people in it. Okay. Right. So to know that 20% of the population voted, these are the results you're gonna get. They know that 20% of the population votes. So guess what? They're gonna go with the 20% that vote ideas. And we know that we know where those folks live at.
Yep. We already know. So Miss Sherry, I wanted to let you, if you had any questions before we let Mr. Wright go, please come off mute and introduce yourself if you can. I know you're at work.
Yes, I'm Sherry Balil. I'm a parent. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, when and if you become mayor, will you be willing to have a parent advisory board help you assist with the city of Atlanta, being that we have a lot of youths who are not directed, and you can use the support of parents to help you with the city of Atlanta. So I wanted to hear your take on that.
Yep, great question, Ms. White. She asked that question why you weren't on the call. That is something that needs to be galvanized, cultivated, and really discussed with the MPU chairs first, and then the council member in conjunction with the MPUs. We really don't understand how much power MPU chairs have, right? Because they have a tremendous amount of power. Right. The mayor's office has taken a lot of it from them, but you have to go through them first. So all these ideas that are going on with gentrification, especially, they knew about it, right? Because you have to go to them to get the zoning, right? And so with the parents have to galvanize together. And number one, that'll show that you are concerned. Number two is strength in numbers. And when you get strength in numbers, and when a politician knows that votes are on the line, a tremendous amount of votes come and go, and with your blessing, with your endorsement, you'd be surprised how they start acting. You'd be surprised. You have them. You can call your district council member, and you got 1,500 parents of every parent that went to Doug and Westlake and in these schools. You get 1,500 people, and you called up your district person. They coming because they be too scared not to. Because it's 1,500 parents. That's 5,000 votes. That's $100,000 you can put in somebody's campaign. They coming running. Because all other the community for better the committee for better Atlanta. You don't think that they can call people and have them answer just like that from Kasim on down to the 14th person running? It's organizations that when they speak, politicians answer the call immediately, and a lot of times they are African American, right? Because we don't galvanize completely together. We're kind of disjointed, and so that's what I tell all citizens. Is that there's always going to be strength in numbers. There are more poor people in the city than there are rich, right? And so the fact that that rich people say that they're represented is only one reason why, because they vote at the end of the day, right? And so voting is just the most important thing that you can do, and galvanizing together and letting someone know, hey, listen, our kids read at a ninth grade level. As high school seniors, that's just unacceptable. I'm holding APS responsible. I'm holding Mayor Bottoms responsible. I'm holding Felicia Moore responsible. I'm holding every elected official responsible. So I got 1,500 parents, and with these 1,500 parents, we got about 5,000 to 6,000 votes that we control. We control and we control who we donate to. You'd be surprised what happens. The MPU chair is gonna start answering you. Yep. City council's gonna start answering you. Mayor Bob's gonna start answering you. You'd be surprised.
You're right. Miss Johnson, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes, I am so sorry to interrupt y'all, but I have to get off and go back to work. Okay. So thank y'all. It was a great listen. Good luck on your race.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I just want to close by saying thank you so much for coming and listening to parents. I think you have a very valid point about coming together and making sure that we go to the MPU, because that's the reason why I got involved. I know the power that they hold, and while we're yelling at everybody, we might want to pull back and go look at who said yes or no to those developments that put us out of our community. Exactly. Most of those folks look just like us. That is the very reality. And if we come together, I think we can make some differences. So please tell people how to get in touch with you and how to follow you.
Yep. You can follow me. My website is www.rightfortfatl.com. Again, it's www.rightfortfatl.com. And you can go there and volunteer, donate. You can see more of the platform. And I just encourage everybody to let everybody know that the only time in your life in this country where you and Bill Gates are the same as when you vote. The only time, though, when you leave the voting booth, he's still worth billions, and you work what you work. Before you walk in that booth, but at that booth, when you're in that vote, that's the only time. Exercise that time. Always exercise it. If you don't do nothing else, you vote. And when more of us vote, we'll be surprised. Because if 130,000 people show up, you're going to be surprised how the city council members move during these next 4 years. How I'm going to move during the next 4 years. How the city council president's going to move. How the APS is going to move. When they see 130, 140,000 people vote, you know, these people aren't playing anymore. They want results. That goes from Buckhead to Bankhead. And you hope, and they know that they're going to be held responsible for these next 4 years. So you're going to get better results. But if 80,000, 90,000 people vote, they know who's voting. And so you're not going to get the same results.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming. You did not disappoint. You truly lived up to that good, the good information that's being put out about you. I hope more parents, community members, grandparents, you know, I really hope you guys go and please pay attention to a lot of the names that you don't hear. They have already started doing some great things in our city. And so, like he said, go vote. November the 2nd is right around the corner. I think we're about 20 plus days before early voting. So it's important that we show up, and we show up in numbers, and you got to make the best decision for your family and your community. We can't keep making excuses. We can't keep talking to people who are not influencing the change. We got to come together. We got to go to them and let them know we're not playing no more. This year was the last year you're going to play with Black folks.
Amen.
So
Amen.
thank you so much.